Everyone, and good morning from everybody from India. Before we start the program, I would like to tell you that this program is going to go live on Facebook from now onwards. So if you're not comfortable, you can turn off your cameras. But if you're comfortable, so this is good. We like to see nice smiling faces. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's speaker, our very special guest, Rajni Tekriwal. She is a renowned barrister and solicitor from GTA area. And as you have seen on the flyer that she has 24 plus years of experience in her field. But you all have read the intro. पर जो मैं इंट्रोडक्शन देना चाहूंगी वो मैं दिल से देना चाहूंगी कि मैंने कैसे जाना रजनी को. So I came to know I met Rajni through a social organization. I saw her interacting with people. She's a people person, very kind-hearted, very generous. So I have also seen her during those social organizations, some difficult and challenging situations. And I observed that how gracefully and how sweetly she handled the situation without losing her mind or her temper. So that is a very, very rare quality because people do get carried away. And she is soft at one side, very politely, she puts her points across, but at the same time, she is very firm. So those are her strengths. So on the paper, she can say that she has 24 years of experience, but I feel that she has much more experience than that. Because रजनी को justice जो है, वो घुटी में घोल के जैसे उसने पिया है, उसमें पिलाया है. Because her father was a very renowned honorable Chief Justice of India in Karnataka state. So she is the worthy daughter of him, and she has carried forward the legacy very gracefully. And she is also eldest daughter, and on the other side, she is eldest daughter-in-law. So she has those quality of nurturing, and she is very passionate person. So very carefully, she understands the client's needs and very patiently with complete empathy and care and nurturing nature, because that comes naturally to her because she is eldest from both the sides. So that's how I know her. And eventually, I don't know how and when, our acquaintances knowing her turned into a very beautiful friendship. And I'm very proud of it. She's also mother of very beautiful two daughters, very talented. And she herself is very, very talented. Other than like being law, you can see that can be a very strong, very dry subject, but she is artist. She paints. Whenever she gets time, she paints. And she's excellent cook. So here I present Rajni Tekriwal.
Wow. Wow. It feels really good to hear such nice words, especially from a friend, right? Like makes a huge lot of difference in your life. You really, really not only made my day, you made my entire 2020 now. Looking forward to 2021.
We don't take time to appreciate or validate our very close friends and families. So I thought this is good opportunity. And telling credentials, you can read the credentials from the website. So this is all from Dil Se.
बहुत अच्छा अंशु आपने इंट्रोड्यूस किया, बहुत मजा आ गया. One could really feel Rajni.
Yeah, Rajni, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Anuka ji. So, shall we start?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. So, hi. So in terms of what are we talking about today, right? We are talking about unmuting ourselves, a very popular word for 2020, as Uzma had mentioned, something that we didn't know or didn't exist before. Probably it did, but something that we can relate to nowadays, right? Something that almost everybody is doing is what is Zoom meetings. And in Zoom meetings or in any video conferencing, mic on, mic off is always a requirement. Now, in terms of mic on or mic off, it's a courtesy that when a speaker or somebody is speaking on a Zoom meeting, you turn it off, just as you did right now, right? But in reality, in real life, and that is where I'm going to come from, in real life, especially as a woman, especially as a mother, especially as a wife, especially as a daughter, especially as a daughter-in-law, what are we doing to our lives? Are we staying silent? Are we being courteous? Are we being submissive? Or are we being strong enough to voice our words? That is where the concept comes in. Do we need to mute or do we need to unmute here? The specific topic, if we start on this topic, it's an endless topic. We can just go on and on and on and on, right? But at this point of time, for today's purpose, for today's discussion, what we are talking about is unmuting yourself in abusive relationship. It is a very sensitive word, abusive relationship. What do we understand from that? What does it mean? It means different to different people, especially people who are experiencing abuse. It means different, right? It can come from anywhere. The important part is people in abusive relationship, they're not even aware of that they are in abusive relationship. And that is where the major concern comes in from. And that is where we need to make them understand that yes, you are in abusive relationship. Admit it, observe it, admit it, right? Then only you can move forward with the next steps. You're with me here? Okay. And tell me, at any point of time you need me to speak in Hindi, I can easily switch on to it, right? So I'm going to speak in English, but at any point, Anshu, let me know if anybody needs, like, I need to switch to Hindi. I'm equally comfortable speaking in Hindi too.
Yeah, Uzma can let us know.
रजनी आप कहीं कहीं हिंदी में आ जाएं
अच्छा,
इजी फॉर यू क्योंकि हमारी ऑडियंस जो लाइव देख रही है वो
हाँ
सबको
जी,
समझ नहीं आती है
अच्छा,
बट अगर आप थोड़ा सा स्विच कर लेंगी तो इट विल बी इजी
ठीक है,
लेकिन इस वक्त हमारे ग्रुप में सब वो हैं जिनको इंग्लिश आती है
ओके, ठीक है. So
थैंक यू
I'll try to have a combination of both. ठीक है ना? और कहीं भी अगर किसी को लगे तो प्लीज चैट बॉक्स में आप लिख दें कि revisit it and I'm going to revisit the issue. ठीक है? So in
रजनी,
terms of
हमारे ग्रुप में इस वक्त सबको हिंदी उर्दू भी आती है.
हाँ जी,
So you can comfortably also communicate in Hindi and Urdu and then occasionally in English, however you are comfortable.
okay. So I'll just go with the flow.
Hmm.
Right? When I
Right.
speak with my legal mind, it's usually in English.
Yes.
But like when I'm communicating from between a person to person, then Hindi is not a problem at all.
बिल्कुल,
तो
बिल्कुल,
मैं कोशिश ये करूंगी कि जितना मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों की कॉम्बिनेशन में बोलूं. ठीक है ना?
बिल्कुल.
So we are talking about abuse. What does abuse mean? Normally people, लोगों की understanding ये होती है कि abuse is nothing but physical hurt, right? Like physical violence, violent behavior. किसी ने मारा, किसी ने पीटा, किसी ने चोट पहुंचाई, किसी ने थप्पड़ लगाया. That is abuse. But actually, abuse का definition is very, very broad, right? Abuse is not only physical violence. It's emotional, it's sexual, it's financial, any kind of abuse inflicted upon a person, a partner. Today, for today's perspective, we are talking about women in general because that's the major gender that is being affected, but there are times, and I have experienced that in my career as well, कि ये flip side भी हो जाता है कभी कभी. It's the woman who is abusing the men too. मगर आज हम concentrate करेंगे only about women empowerment पे, and women को we are going to put them in that victim category here. ठीक है? So what happens when abuse happens? Abuse का मतलब है financial abuse too. In that terms, the woman has no control over the finances. She doesn't know कि क्या accounts है, क्या joint investment है, husband क्या कमा रहा है, क्या खर्चे कर रहा है, कहाँ वो जमा कर रहा है, कहाँ invest कर रहा है. She has no clue. यहाँ तक कि अगर वो काम भी कर रही है और उसके पैसे भी अगर आ रहे हैं, तो वो पैसे joint account में जा रहे हैं, but she has no control over the expenses, over the movement of the fund, और उसकी funneling हो जाती है, and she gets to have no access. She will only get कि आपको ग्रोसरी के लिए इतनी खर्चे करने हैं या इतना हमें जमा करना है, और ये this is what you have to maintain the family. Monthly expense is about like $500 दे दिया हाथ में, उसी से खर्चे चलाओ, बच्चों के खर्चे चलाओ, सब कुछ करो. That is also abuse. ठीक है? When you say when the wife is being cut off from the contact of her family and friends and everybody, and she is allowed to just stay at home, go for work, take care of the kids. If she's just a housewife, you're not allowed to call your parents back home. You're not allowed to meet with your friends. You're not allowed to have interactions with friends, nothing. That is also abuse. These are different symptoms जिसको कि catch करके देखना होता है कि कहाँ से story शुरू हो रही है. And I'm going a little bit more detail on it क्योंकि this is the part which is unknown to people. A lot of people fail to understand that part. Threaten to hurt. धमकी मिलती है जब कि अगर तुमने ऐसा किया तो तुम्हें चोट पहुंचेगी या तुम्हारे बच्चों को चोट पहुंचेगी या जिन्हें जो तुम बहुत प्यार करती हो उनको चोट पहुंचेगी. Which means a pet. अगर आपने कुत्ता पाल रखा है, डॉगी है आपके घर में, the abuser will try to hurt the doggy to hurt you, right? That's indirect inflicting of the pain upon you. किसी भी तरह से आपको पेन पहुंचाना है. आपके पास में इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं देंगे, you won't have access to any like house deed, घर की जो ओनरशिप पेपर्स है या पासपोर्ट है या बच्चों की बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट्स हैं, उसका एक्सेस नहीं होगा, वो लॉक एंड की में होगा. ठीक है? हमेशा धमकी मिलेगी कि अगर तुमने ऐसा किया तो मैं बच्चों को ले जाऊंगा, तुम बच्चों को देखती रह जाओगी, and you won't get access to your children and I'll take away the children. धमकियां होंगी अगर न्यू इमिग्रेंट है, अगर स्टेटस अभी नहीं एस्टैब्लिश हुई है, तो उसको ये धमकी मिलेगी कि अगर तुमने ऐसा किया तो अगर तुमने मेरी बात नहीं मानी तो मैं तुम्हें डिपोर्ट कर दूंगा. And recently I have concluded a case which went on for years for that lady, जिसमें कि यही धमकी के कारण उस लड़की ने हमेशा हर पेपर को साइन किया क्योंकि उसे ये कहा जाता था कि मैं तुम्हें डिपोर्ट कर दूंगा, तुम्हें डिपोर्ट कर दूंगा. और because she was not afraid of deportation, she was afraid of losing the kids. She thought कि बच्चे यहाँ के born हैं तो वो Canadian resident हैं, इसलिए they will be able to stay here and I will be deported back. And for that purposes, she was signing the marriage contract, she was giving away all her property rights, everything. That is abuse. Okay, so forcing yourself, like sexual जो abuse होता है कि unwanted forcing upon होता है, that is another issue. ये सब कई तरह के symptoms होते हैं. And that initially जो abuser का जो ये शुरुआत होती है, that starts from these actions, and one day it ends up into a slap, a punch, or a kick. And that is the beginning of the physical violence there. That is where it starts. And that is the point where you have to unmute yourself. You cannot take it. If you don't stop at that point, जो पहला पंच होता है या पहली थप्पड़ होती है, अगर उसको आपने उस दिन नहीं रोका तो वो वहां से जो है फिजिकल वायलेंस शुरू हो जाता है. And that leads to the major serious domestic violence issues. अब सवाल ये उठता है कि जब ये सब सारी कहानियां होती हैं and then people get to, like the woman, the victim there, she's experiencing it, but why is she not talking about it? Why is she not revolting it? क्योंकि उसके अंदर में कई तरह की डेवलपमेंट होने लगती है, पर्सनालिटी चेंजेस होने लगती है, मन में डर बैठने लग जाता है. So fear is a factor, anxiety is a factor, depression is another factor, insecurity is a factor, hopelessness is a factor, multiple factors that start developing within her. And when that starts developing, she gets more insecure. Another symptom of the abuser is that each time he will inflict the abuse there, what he will do is that he will blame it upon his work or his mental pressure, and he would say, I am very busy at work, something went wrong there, my boss had like did something to me, I'm not getting the pay raise what I'm getting it, and because of my anger and my frustration, this is what I'm doing. And it was not the intent, but he justifies it. And when he justifies it, he feels this is absolutely okay to justify in this manner because I am entitled to hurt my wife or my partner when I am being stressed. So that's a justification he gives, and wife takes it. That is where you have to speak up and say, no, you cannot let your frustration impact upon me because that's a separate issue and this is a separate issue. Another symptom of this abuser is that each time he would hurt, and that often happens with the physical violence there, right? In the physical violence, what he would do is that once he hurts the wife, and later on he realizes that, and he sees the injury inflicted upon, the first symptom would be to say sorry. They would do so. They will feel guilty by seeing the injuries on the wife there, and they will feel sorry. And what they will do is that they will not hesitate in going and saying and apologizing. They will give gifts, shower them with love, shower them with some trips or some pleasure trips, and the wife will just calm down, and the wife will think that he has changed, it was just temporary, and things are going to get better. Is it really? No. These are the symptoms of a changed behavior, which is just a cycle. It will happen again. As soon as wife calms down, one day again, husband comes home, frustrated from his work, and instead of one slap, he would just beat her up. And then again, at the same night, he's going to go back to her and say sorry to her and tell her, it just happened, it's never going to happen again. But that's the cycle. And that is the cycle that has to be broken, right? So different stages in a victim's life. One, pre-contemplation. That is where the victim is not aware of what is going on with her life. That is where she needs to educate herself and understand, is this a symptom of abuse that I'm experiencing? Is this something that I need to improve and make sure my marriage improves there? Because if you don't speak up at that time, later it's going to go worse. For sure, there's no doubt about it. The second stage is about contemplation. Once you get aware, what are you doing about it, right? At that stage, you realize that there is a problem in the marriage and you need to fix it. What can you do? Step one, you can speak to your husband about it. Tell him that there is something that needs to change between us. Can we go for marriage counseling? If he agrees to it, go for marriage counseling, point out the points, and let him take some therapy. Or if he is agreeable to, if he accepts that, yes, there is a personality defect in me, and this is what I have to do, by all means, he would take up that program. He would try to improve on his personality. He will try to improve upon the relationship, and the marriage goes well. It's fine. And again, in my experience, I've seen this happening. It's not that it's a hopeless situation. People have done that. So you speak to friends, you speak to family, you try to improve, and you see what can be done. If that doesn't happen, nothing changes. What happens next? That is the time for action. That's the action stage. You need to come into action now because you know that he's not going to improve. And if you don't stop this today, 20 years later, 25 years later, 30 years later, but you're bound to move out of this relationship. There will be no recourse. There's no 100% guarantee when will that happen, but it is going to happen. So why spoil your life right now? Just take action and come out of this abusive relationship. That is where आपको अपनी सारी strength इकट्ठी करनी होगी, and you have to decide, today I am the priority. It's my life, and I'm going to think about my life only, right? I'm not going to, because मेरे बच्चे छोटे हैं, मेरे बच्चे इनसिक्योर हो जाएंगे, मैं क्या करूं कि मेरे बच्चे मेरे पास अबिलिटी नहीं है कि मैं अपनी कमाई नहीं कर सकती हूँ, मैं फाइनेंशियली इनसिक्योर हूँ, या मुझे फैमिली वाले सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, या मुझे किसी फ्रेंड्स का सपोर्ट नहीं है, कम्युनिटी का सपोर्ट नहीं है, या मेरे पास कोई एविडेंस नहीं है, आखिर मैं करूं तो क्या करूं? इस इनसिक्योरिटी के लिए अपने आप को रोको नहीं। अगर वो स्टेज आ गया है कि अब एक्शन टाइम है, तो एक्शन का टाइम है, राइट? एंड दैट इज वेयर यू स्टार्ट planning for yourself, planning for your empowerment, planning for your confidence, and planning to gain the strength back that has been diminished by the intimate partner you had been living with. What do you do then? That is the crucial stage where you need to reach out to professionals. Reach out to your doctor, reach out to your therapist, reach out to women's, if the situation is really, again, the degree की ग्राफ में 1 to 10 के स्केल में आप कहाँ हो? अगर आपके पास में अगर डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का स्केल अगर 9 पे है, तो you immediately need to move out, and then you need to talk to the domestic violence assistance program. There are tons of support out there. Just one Google and you will see all line up. अगर threat to life है, call 911. अगर assistance चाहिए crisis line के लिए, call 211. अगर assaulted women's assistance चाहिए, there is a line there. You can just Google it up and you can take it. What you need to do, अगर आप 9 के स्केल पे हो वहां पे, तो आपके पास में फोन हमेशा आपके साथ होना चाहिए. Any minute आपको फील हो रहा है कि you feel threatened, just go and lock yourself in the washroom and just call up the police. Do not hesitate. Do not think what is going to happen. At that point, the safety, your life safety is the most important thing. बाकी सारी चीजें अपनी जगह आ जाएंगी, मगर जो हार्म आपको हो जाएगा उसकी रिकवरी नहीं हो सकती है. एंड एट दैट टाइम ये नहीं सोचना है कि परिवार क्या बोलेगा, सोसाइटी क्या बोलेगी, कल्चरल स्टिग्मा रह जाएगा नहीं रह जाएगा, मेरा क्या होगा, बच्चों का क्या होगा. नो, just lock yourself, go to the washroom, lock yourself, call up 911, and then let them take the charge. Okay, so that is where action comes in. अब ये एक्शन के साथ में कभी कभी अगर आप स्केल 9 पे नहीं हो एंड यू थिंक दैट यू स्टिल हैव टाइम एंड यू नीड टू मेक अ प्लान, देन यू मेटिकुलसली मेक अ प्लान देयर. आप क्या करते हो, कैसे करते हो, कैसे जाना है, तो आपकी प्लानिंग शुरू होती है. आप प्रोफेशनल से जाके मिल सकते हो, यू गेट सम आइडिया अबाउट व्हाट यू डू, बट एट द सेम टाइम व्हाट आई टेल माय क्लाइंट्स इज दैट व्हेन दे कम टू मी in a pre-planning stage, this is going to happen, Rajni, with me. What should I be doing? So my immediate answer to them is start planning. घर में जितने भी important documents हैं, उसकी आप या तो कॉपी बना लो या फोटो खींच लो एंड उनको कहीं पे स्टोर कर लो. अगर कॉपी बना सकते हो तो उनकी फोटो कॉपी बना के किसी फ्रेंड के यहाँ, ट्रस्टेड पर्सन के यहाँ रखते जाओ, क्योंकि one day all these documents will just vanish and you won't have get access to it. Any document like notice of assessment है, उसका pay stub है, घर के house deeds है, account statements है, anything that you feel important, take it away and store it somewhere else. Take the birth certificates, take the marriage certificate. आपकी जो passport है वो किसी दिन गायब हो जाएगी, इसीलिए उन सब चीजों को आप हटाते जाओ, क्योंकि आपको in anticipation कि things may go south, what do I need to do? I need to remove these things, or I need to keep it in a safe place where nobody will have access to. अपने passwords change करो, क्योंकि this abuser will always have access to your emails, will always have access to your bank accounts, will always have access to all your personal documents. So start changing your passwords there. Start taking control over your own finances there. Create a separate account, start depositing money, all your salary money or whatever money you have on your own. Start changing it. Secure your finances, collect your money, collect your documents, collect your identification documents, and start moving it out gradually. Take pictures of the abuses. If you have like any evidences of these abuse, like especially with physical abuse, कोई पिक्चर्स आपकी ली हुई है जो कि इंजरी की दिख रही है, या फिर कोई आपके कोई पिक्चर्स हैं या कोई टेक्स्ट मैसेजेस हैं, अब्यूसिव टेक्स्ट मैसेज है, उसके स्क्रीन प्रिंट करके आप कहीं पे स्टोर करते जाओ, क्योंकि it might happen that one day your cell phone gets lost. What do you do? And things do happen, such things do happen. It's not imaginary thing. जो अब्यूजर होता है उसको अगर एक बार भी ये पता चल जाता है, एहसास हो जाता है कि you might take a step there, he will start removing things which might hurt him. And that is where you need to make sure that you are protecting yourself, you are putting together all the evidence that might be required, right? And you're putting things together in there. You take help, you have trusted friends, not friends who would go and tell him about what you're going to do. So that is something that you have to be very, very careful about. He just got confidence mein le rahe ho, he's fully confident, like he's up to the mark there and he's taking care of your interest, not his interest as well. So you have to be extremely careful. बच्चे हैं अगर, and if you decide to move out, what do you do? This is a bigger question that everybody asks me, कि बच्चों को लेके निकलूं या बच्चों को छोड़ के निकलूं, right? Because of the laws, जो law है यहाँ का, बच्चों पे parents का equal right होता है. When equal right होता है तो आप अगर अकेले लेके निकल जाते हो तो आपके ऊपर child abduction का केस लग सकता है. But at the same time आप अगर छोड़ के जाते हो तो you end up, if you go for legal battle there, you end up losing the custody because the father will say कि वो अपनी मर्जी से छोड़ के गई है, abandon करके चली गई है. So बड़ी वो ग्रे लाइन होती है उसमें कि उस ग्रे लाइन में आप कैसे इसको डील करते हो. तो इसमें जरूरी ये होता है कि अगर बच्चे छोटे हैं और आपसे अटैच्ड हैं तो you take the children with you, but at the same time you inform the people whom you trust so that he can be informed that you have not abducted the children. You can also reach out to the nearest police station and let them know this is what I'm doing because I have to take the children because the children are attached to me, but I'm not abducting them. I'm going and I'm going to tell you where the address is. But you do not inform him until you reach a safe place, whether it is a shelter, whether it's a trusted family friend or a family member, where he cannot easily find you. And then you can somehow send the message that I am safe, the children are safe, and if needed, I can be contacted back. I have left. This is my decision. You don't want to disclose your address? You don't disclose your address. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Right? Next step. अगर आपके पास कोई भी family friend कुछ भी नहीं है, तो government help बहुत है. There are shelters there. There is a lot of resources there. I'm not going to go into detail because it's again all available over internet, and there's a lot of government help there. अगर आपके पास skills नहीं है, work skills नहीं है, government help है आपकी skill development के लिए, you can start there. You can, if you are really like financially weak there, you don't have any place and you're not able to pay the rent, you can apply for subsidized housing there. So there are many ways where you're able to support, of course, welfare and social assistance वगैरह सारी चीजें हैं, social workers हैं. Abusive life में होने से अगर बच्चे छोटे हैं तो you can always contact Children Aid Society and they will work around with your social worker to get the best available options for you. If you have financial stability, of course, then you're not dependent on him, right? So there are many ways where you can actually come out of this relationship. And then preparing yourself to keeping evidence of your assault. And now, once you have come out, what do? We come to rights now. आपके legal rights क्या हैं, right? Legal rights जो है बहुत सारी जो हमारे विक्टिम्स होते हैं उन्हें ये पता भी नहीं होता है कि उनके राइट्स हैं भी या नहीं भी। उनके हिसाब से अगर हस्बैंड अगर जो मैट्रिमोनियल होम में जहाँ आप रह रहे हो अगर हस्बैंड के नाम पे है तो यू डोंट गेट एनीथिंग। They will come and they will say, you know what, I was a stupid lady, I never signed up as a co-owner of the house and now have lost everything that belongs, the house now belongs to my husband. No, the Family Law Act provides you for your security in the matrimonial home for equal shares, even if your name is not there, even if you have not contributed a single penny, even if you have not contributed towards any of its carrying charges, चाहे उसकी mortgage payment हो, property taxes हो, insurance हो, कुछ भी हो, you have still equal entitlement out of the equity of the house. And that is a major thing which most of the people do not know about. Not only that, it's also if अगर husband के और भी investment properties हैं, उसके shares हैं, stocks हैं, उसके इंडिया में properties हैं, which you can prove it, उसके यूएस में property है, फ्लोरिडा में एक property है, कहीं भी है, if you are able to prove it, you are equally entitled to that as in matrimonial rights, of course. जो what I'm talking about is in marriage. Common law में थोड़ी difference हो जाती है, living together में, cohabitation में थोड़े entitlements different होते हैं. But in matrimony, you have equal shares. Of course, it's the net family property that we are talking about, which takes into account his liabilities too, right? Existing on the date of separation, and there is a calculation for that to do a net family property statement, and then you divide it by 2 and see who has a higher net worth, and then you balance it off between the two and make it equal. So you have financial security. So that's one that comes out of the equalization. दूसरा है spousal support. Spousal support again आपकी entitlement है कि अगर शादी में आप एक housewife रही हैं, आप घर पे रह के घर का सारा काम कर रही हैं, खाना बना रही हैं, लॉन्ड्री कर रही हैं, घर को साफ कर रही हैं, बच्चों की अपब्रिंगिंग कर रही हैं, सारा काम कर रही हैं. You're a housewife and a homemaker there, and you have not contributed any single penny. आपकी income कुछ नहीं है, आपने अपने job skills को improve नहीं किया है, आपने अपनी educational enhancement नहीं की है, while the husband has taken the benefit of your contributions in the home, and he had been enhancing his skills. And he has gotten many job opportunities where he had climbed the stairs up, right? उसकी income 100,000 हो गई है, आपकी income जो है barely 20,000 है. And you have sustained in that marriage for so many years there with these abuses. When you come out of it, there is an entitlement on the income disparity based on the compensatory ground and the non-compensatory ground, and you're entitled to spousal support, at least for the minimum number of the years that you have spent together, right? अगर 10 साल की शादी है तो 10 साल का support tentatively मिलता है. Again, there is a lot of, it's not as clear, जो मैं भी बोल रही हूँ, there are a lot of contributions to it. Every spouse has an obligation to be self-sufficient. You cannot just sit and be a parasite and say, Ajay, मुझे 10 साल का support मिल सकता है, why should I work? No, the courts consider a lot of things in there. There is always a balance. सभी चीजों का होता है. It's not as clear, like it's not, but yes, there is an entitlement and people do not know about it. There has to be an income disparity though. इनकम के बीच में डिस्पैरिटी होनी चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो भी 30,000 कमा रहा है, आपके भी 20,000 की इनकम है, देयर इज बेयरली एनी 10,000 का एनुअल इनकम का डिफरेंस है, एंड देन यू से वेल मैं तो काम नहीं करूंगी, मैं तो घर पे ही बैठूंगी क्योंकि वो 30,000 में मुझे सपोर्ट करना होगा. नो, ऐसा नहीं होता है. सो देयर हैज टू बी एन एलिमेंट ऑफ fairness and there is an element of reasonableness. So there are many contributing factors, but at the same time, yes, you have a right to spousal support. And you should not be getting out of it because he has an obligation to support you. इसमें एक और बात आती है, जब कभी होता है कि मान लीजिए हस्बैंड यहाँ का है, उसने शादी की बैक होम में, उसने स्पॉन्सर करके बुला लिया यहाँ, 6 महीने के बाद में ही फाउंड कि ये तो लड़की अच्छी नहीं है हमारे और उसको वो एक तो कंट्री में नहीं है, उसके पास में कोई परिवार नहीं है, कोई फैमिली वाले नहीं है, कोई भी नहीं है, और नहीं उसके कोई जॉब एक्सपीरियंस है, कनेडियन एक्सपीरियंस है, व्हाट डज शी डू नाउ? उसको सड़क पे लाके छोड़ देता है, कहता निकल जाओ घर से बाहर, राइट? अब शादी भी नई नई हुई है, बहुत पुरानी नहीं है, तो शी कैन नॉट से कि भाई इतने साल की शादी है, मैंने इतना कंट्रीब्यूट किया क्योंकि आप इकट्ठे नहीं रहे हो, तो आप क्या करते हो? डोंट फॉरगेट, इमिग्रेशन कनाडा को उसने अंडरटेकिंग दी है कि 3 साल तक मैं सपोर्ट करूंगा, और उस ग्राउंड पे उसे 3 साल का सपोर्ट देना पड़ता है फिर, because she cannot be a burden on the government of Canada. She cannot be a burden on the the welfare agency, because it's his responsibility, because he has sponsored it. तो उसका भी कोर्स है 3 साल का, तो उसको सपोर्ट है 3 साल में, तब तक शी कैन जस्ट रिक्वालिफाई, अपग्रेड हर स्किल्स एंड बी देयर. सो अगेन राइट्स बहुत सारी तरीके से है, हर सिचुएशन की अलग अलग सर्कमस्टांसेस होते हैं, उसमें हमें जज करके देखना होता है कि वेदर शी इज एंटाइटल्ड टू इट और नॉट, राइट? ये हो गया पर्सनल आपके understanding की चीज की, whether the spousal support is applicable or not. Now we come to the child rights, like if you have children and you have the children are with you, three major things that come along with children is, one is custody, who has the custody of the child. Number two is access, what visiting rights the other parent has. And the third is the child support, what support payment would be the non-residing parent pay to the to the mom who takes care of the children and their expenses. Again, custody can be in two contexts. It can be physical custody and a legal custody, right? Physical custody is where the children are residing with mom or with dad, whoever it is. And legal custody is the right to take decisions there. So decision making. Who has the rights to take decisions on behalf of their children for their health, for their education, for their religion, for any major things in their life? So that's called legal custody. Custody fight is one of the most common fights in court. People just fight it over for years and years and years. Who's going to have the custody? Even after all the other matters have been settled, is the custody issue which goes on and on and on. एंड इसीलिए अब जाकर के टर्मिनोलॉजी चेंज हो रही है, डिवोर्स एक्ट में अमेंडमेंट आ रहा है मार्च से 2021 से, जिसमें कस्टडी को खत्म कर दिया जाएगा बिल्कुल. देयर विल बी नो वर्ड एज कस्टडी वर्ड देयर. देयर विल बी समथिंग कॉल्ड प्रिंसिपल रेसिडेंस ऑफ द चाइल्ड. Where will the child reside? Principal, like the first residence किसके पास होगी, principal residence कहाँ होगा, secondary residence कहाँ होगा, visitation rights. So to avoid that kind of conflict, a lot of changes are coming up, and we'll not go into that detail because that's a very long discussion again. But yes, once you have, if the abuser is really like a big abuser there and who had been abusing it, there is no way there can be a joint custody. And under those circumstances, courts usually grant sole custody historically. And because you had been the victim and the children has always stayed with you, unless you are a threat to the children, you have a mental health issue, or you are a drug addict and you have not been taking care of children, that's a separate story, even though you had been a victim, right? सिर्फ victim होने से आपको custody rights नहीं मिलेंगे, but you have to prove that you're a good mom there. So custody rights are there, and because the custody rights are, the children are staying with you, you can seek child support from the other parent based on his income. Again, that's a formula based, and that's standard guideline amount, what we call, and based on his income disclosure, we can always calculate that amount, and per month basis he has to pay it, and that's enforceable by the Family Responsibility Office. So that's again a very simple matter, yet there are times when people hide their income and you have to impute it, so it can become complicated, but normally it's not so difficult to deal with. So in terms of children, there are many other rights to sign the passports, right to sign the travel outside of the country without the consent of the other parent. So there are many other topics that can be discussed in terms of children, but for the purposes of today's topic, we are mostly concentrating on women and the women's right there as an individual. So we have talked about most of the topics. One more thing that I would like to point out, which many people do not know, say the matrimonial home is owned by both the parties, right? Husband and wife there. And the husband being the abuser and wife being the victim, she can always apply to the court and ask for exclusive possession of the matrimonial home, especially when there are kids. And the courts may order it for a temporary basis. थोड़े दिनों के लिए लंबा नहीं जाता है ये, but for temporary basis, they usually allow you to have exclusive possession of the home, whereby you don't have to go out with the children because you need the stability, and the husband is asked to move out of the house until the matter is resolved. So these are some of the rights, what we can say, right? So we talked about abuse, we talked about symptoms of abuse, we talked about the action plan, we talked about preparation of how to prepare yourself to come out of the abusive relationship, and then we talked about what are your legal rights. The important thing is, in सब सारी dry matters में जो important चीज होती है वो होती है self confidence और खुद की जो resilience and the जिसको कहते हैं ना हिम्मत लेके और एक to be courageous and to break this. That point is the most important point in a victim's life, which they are not able to do. So you have to cross that line and jump over in order to move ahead. So for that, you need to first understand that you are actually in an abusive relationship or not, right? So those are the most important part, where you need to assess yourself to see. And then once you determine that you are in abusive relationship that cannot be fixed, then break it and come out of it and take the control of your life in your own hands, because your life means most to you. Nothing is impossible. It can be done. Like the word impossible itself says, I am possible. So you can make it possible. It needs to be done. You need to be confident. That is why you have to take the control back in your hands and live your life for yourself, not for the other person, not for the family, not for the society, not for the friends, not for public at large, but for yourself, because it's your life. Okay, I think I had been speaking a lot. I hope you guys are not bored, but I am open for any questions, any clarifications.
Yes, Uzbel.
Rajni, thank you so much for such a power-packed presentation. Whatever I was looking for, it was there. So many things. Now I'm just, I would like to discuss some situations because I deal with many abusive women. So होता ये है कि उनका joint account होता है, number one. So they cannot take out money, even they are working, उनकी सारी salary उधर आ रही है, वो निकाल नहीं सकती, वो अपने आप को secure नहीं कर सकती financially. So क्या हो सकता है number one in this situation?
Number one, क्यों नहीं निकाल सकती हैं? ये myth है.
नहीं, husband controlling है, right? Even अगर वो $7 का कुछ खरीदती है तो वो बताती है, वो पूछता है. अभी कुछ ऐसी हैं जो बेशक they are working ladies, लेकिन काम की हद तक confidence बहुत है, they are perfect. लेकिन जब ये वाले relation की बात आती है तो controlling person is there, जिसके आगे वो एक हिसाब देती है अपना, right? ऐसी सिचुएशन में जबकि वो एक एग्जिट प्लान बना रही है, वो चाह रही है, और इसी सिचुएशन में हस्बैंड के पास सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स होते हैं. I recently had somebody जिसके पास फोन तक नहीं था और उसके 5 बच्चे हैं उसके साथ. वो कहती कि हस्बैंड फोन नहीं लेने देता, मैं फोन खरीदना चाह रही हूँ. फोन खरीदने के लिए उसके पास कोई डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं था जो वहां दिखा सकती कि मुझे फोन लेना है, कुछ भी उसके पास नहीं था. So, ऐसी सिचुएशंस होती हैं. तो मुझे फाइनेंशियल का पहले बताएं, जिनका जॉइंट अकाउंट है वो क्या करें?
पहले तो अपना सोल अकाउंट खोले वो,
वो
सबसे
खोलेंगे
इम्पोर्टेंट है।
husband.
देखिए
Problem.
ऐसा है उस्मा कि it's a very, it's not something like which is unique, it's common, and that is when I said कि अब्यूज का मतलब सिर्फ ये नहीं होता है कि उसको लात घूसे पड़े हैं या उसको इंजरीज फिजिकल अब्यूज हुए हैं. फाइनेंशियल अब्यूज इज अब्यूसिव रिलेशनशिप, राइट? एंड फाइनेंशियल अब्यूज को भी ब्रेक करना बहुत जरूरी होता है. उसके लिए स्टेप ये होता है कि अगर उनके पास डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं है, शी कैन अप्रोच, उनको थोड़ी हेल्प की जरूरत होगी आउटसाइड ऑफ देयर हाउस, and then they need to go to some social worker or some like जो नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस होती हैं, assaulted women centers होते हैं, they will be able to guide her. She can apply for her government IDs if she doesn't carry one, right? She can obtain that. With that, she can go to any bank with the help of the social worker, and she can open up a bank account. She's capable, she's an adult. It's not that she cannot do. Even uneducated people जो होते हैं उनको भी assistance मिलती है, वो भी जाके खोल सकते हैं. पढ़े लिखों की तो आप बात छोड़ दो, जो कि पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, इंग्लिश नहीं समझते हैं, तो भी बहुत सपोर्ट अवेलेबल है. इतने सारे लीगल क्लिनिक्स हैं, इतने सारे शेल्टर्स हैं. देयर आर tons and tons of resources available everywhere. All they have to do is to seek help. That is most important, right? तो ये हेल्प सीख करके ये एक्सक्यूजेस होती हैं क्योंकि उनको आदत पड़ चुकी होती है कि नहीं, वी कैन नॉट कम आउट ऑफ इट. यस यू कैन. You just have to tell your mind here that I have to do this and I'm going to do this.
I
लेना होता है, there is help.
So जैसे आपने बात की थी threat to hurt. इस सिचुएशन में हस्बैंड कहता है कि मैं खुद को हर्ट करूंगा.
बिल्कुल.
तुम इस घर से बाहर जाके तो दिखाओ. So that is another threat.
That is equally as good at, because the intent behind is कि उसे तकलीफ हो, उसे यहाँ तकलीफ हो, right? तो वो अगर वो अपने हस्बैंड से प्यार करती हैं and husband is threatening that I'm going to hurt myself, he knows that that's hurting her more than himself and he's not going to do so. He will not do so. वो हाथ में चाकू लेके खड़ा हो जाएगा कि मैंने अपना हाथ काट लेना है अभी, मगर करेगा नहीं वैसा कुछ भी, वो सिर्फ धमकाएगा, right? So these are, again, you have to just pattern देखना होता है कि pattern क्या है. अगर pattern यही है, then you have to know and you have to tell yourself he's doing this to hurt me, right? And if he's like, there was one case where the husband kept threatening the wife that I'm going to commit suicide. She went ahead and told the police. The police took care of him. तो आप इस चीज से घबराए ना, आप उसमें जो सोच के करना है वो करें आप. तो उसने फोन करके बोल दिया कि भाई ये हस्बैंड मुझे बोल रहा है कि इज गोइंग टू कमिट सुसाइड, कैन यू टेक केयर ऑफ हिम, राइट? बट वो स्टेप लेना जो है ना, ये मुश्किल हो जाता है लेडीज को. दैट इज डिफिकल्ट फॉर देम कि how do I say, how if I tell them what is my family going to come back, my marriage is going to be finished forever. Well, it's going on, it's already finished. You haven't realized it. You're merely dragging it.
Should I ask you? I want to tell you one thing. कभी कभी ऐसे होता है कि अगर वाइफ अर्निंग एंड है तो उसका हस्बैंड 100% उनकी, मतलब जितना पता चलता है उन्होंने इतनी इनकम है, वो सारी की सारी हेल्प कर लेते हैं. अगर चोरी छिपे उसने कुछ पाए भी हैं, कहीं होती है उनको विश्वास होता है कि भाई ये क्या कर लेगा, सब बता देती मैंने इतना पैसा वहां से मिला, मुझे इतना पैसा मिला. तो चालाकी ऐसी होती है कि सबसे पहले जो एक्स्ट्रा मिला है ना, वो उन्होंने किसी ना किसी तरीके से निकलवाना, फिर उसकी सैलरी, उसको खाली हाथ ठन गोपाल करके तो बिठा लेना. ऐसा बहुत बार होता है. तो ऐसे टाइम में क्या करना चाहिए, और हुआ है, मेरे साथ भी हुआ है.
ऐसे टाइम में आपको किसी ऐसे फैमिली मेंबर या किसी फैमिली फ्रेंड, जो भी आप जिसके ऊपर आप पूरा भरोसा कर सकते हो, आप उनको कॉन्फिडेंस में लेके उनके पास आप पैसे, अगर आपके जैसे कैश मनी है, अगर आप कैश मनी जमा कर रहे हो तो वैसे रखो. जैसे मैंने बताया ना, बैंक अकाउंट अपना अलग से खोले जिसकी कि उन्हें भनक ना हो, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट डिपॉजिटिंग योर मनी देयर.
आपको केस बताती हूँ. देखो, मेरे को 17 ईयर हो गए तो मेरे बैंक में एक पैसा भी नहीं लॉक करते, और मेरी बड़ी अच्छी जॉब थी। मैं जितना मिलना महीने में पूरे को पूरा हाथ पे रख देना जाके। तो मेरे बाद 5 मेरे को 17 ईयर हो गया, आई हैड नथिंग, इवन सिंगल रुपी। तो मेरे बाद 4-5 साल के बाद की वो टीचर ने कहा मेरे पास 60,000 हो गया, मेरे पास 80,000 हो गया, मेरे पास लाख। मैं क्या, तुम तो भी कल आए, तुम्हारे पास कहाँ से हो गए इतने पैसे? मेरे पास तो है नहीं। क्यों नहीं है तेरे पास, तू क्यों सारे देती है? मैं कैसे छुपाऊं? मैं क्या, जो मेरे को एक्स्ट्रा इधर उधर से मिलते हैं तो वो मैं क्या पहले वो निकालते, फिर वो। तो मेरे को उन्होंने, मेरी जो कलीग्स थी, उन्होंने सलाह दी कि तू ना थोड़े पैसे छुपा लिया कर, बैंक में से कह दिया कर इतने ही मिले हैं, जब मिलती है सैलरी पूरी ना दिया यार। अच्छा, तो कहते चाहे 100 तू जमा करा महीने का, तो क्या।
नरेंद्र जी आप म्यूट हैं, अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ प्लीज।
1 साल बाद मैंने कहा मेरे पास 10,000 हो गए। मैं कहती मेरे पास इतने पैसे हो गए। वैसे बड़ी बेवकूफ है, देखा हमारे पास इतने इतने, हम कभी किसको बताते ही नहीं है। मैं ऐसे छुपता नहीं है। तो कहते फिर बैठी रहा ठंड ठंडा है। फिर उसके बाद ना मैंने थोड़ी हुई होशियार, फिर मैंने नहीं बताना, मैं फिर बैठाया सामने, नहीं ये खर्चा आप करो, ये मैं करूँ। तो करने पड़ेंगे इतने में आपको खर्चे, सारे बिल हैं, दूध का, बिजली का, पानी का, सब देने पड़ेंगे। मैं कपड़े ले लूँगी, बच्चों को संभाल लूँगी, उनका पढ़ा दूँगी, क्योंकि मेरी सैलरी बहुत ज़्यादा थी। तो उस फिर मेरे को जो प्रोविडेंट फंड मिला वो नहीं मैंने बताया, वो अब मैं लाके इंडिया से अब उसको करा के लाई हूँ, and I have a lot of money now.
See, this is one thing that I want to bring it up for whether you are in abusive relationship or not.
FDs का बिल्कुल नहीं बताया था कि मेरी इतनी सेम है। अब मैंने दोनों बच्चों के नाम पर लो, मैंने उनको भी नहीं दिया पेपर, सब मेरे पास। और उनको को पता कैसे दिन मैंने देखे हैं।
So Narendra ji, this is what I want to say, right? It's general. It's whether you are in abusive relationship or not, or you are in a very happy married life. There are two things which women should always know about. About the finances, कि कैसे joint finances आपके हो रहे हैं घर में भी, कैसे कहाँ movement हो रही है, क्या आपके assets है, क्या liabilities है. You should have a full knowledge. Most of the wife, even the educated people, like educated families में, wife is fully educated, she's working, people like you and me, anybody, right? If we do not know of what is happening in the house and how the finances are being managed, it's not right for you. Not because of abusive relationship, it's also about any unforeseen event where one partner can just साथ छूट जाएगा। ऐसे केस में आप क्या करोगे? तो बहुत जरूरी होता है कि किसी भी सिचुएशन के लिए आप अपने आप को प्रिपेयर करो। ऐसे में आपको मालूम होना चाहिए कि आपके फाइनेंसेस कैसे हो रहे हैं, कंट्रोल में होना चाहिए। फाइनेंशियल सिक्योरिटी as well as knowledge of it is equally important. This is separate and apart from our topic today, but it is equally important for any family because most of the family में होता यही है कि husband सारे finances manage करते हैं and wife को कुछ भी नहीं पता होता है। She knows we are doing well, she knows we have enough assets, but she do not know where is it. God forbid something happens, how do you deal with it? How do you manage it? Do you have a will in place? Am I secured as a wife from the will of the property? What if everything is under husband's name? Do we have to go through the litigation process? So बहुत सारी बातें हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, but as women बहुत सबसे पहली चीजें होती है awareness and to have knowledge of things and to have control of things.
पता नहीं, इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं था मेरे पैसे में, मतलब जैसे जाके ऐसे फेंक देती थी सारी सैलरी।
नरेंद्र आंटी, मैं आपको यहाँ थोड़ा सा बताती हूँ कि हम लोग अब बात करें कि यहाँ कनाडा में क्या होना चाहिए, ठीक है?
मैं ओ कर नहीं रही, मैं समझ रही हूँ सर।
हाँ जी।
अब मैंने दिए,
जी
आपने
हाँ,
दिए ना, अब मेरे पास
अगर
है।
जैसे जैसे हमारे पास याद है हम लोगों ने वो मूवी पे बात की थी थप्पड़, तो वो बच्ची जो थी वो वापस आ जाती है, तो हम वो डिस्कस करें कि उसको क्या रिसोर्सेज, जैसे अभी रजनी जी ने बताया कि बहुत सारे यहाँ रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं, गवर्नमेंट आपकी हेल्प करती है, तो वो हम देखते हैं कि अब हम क्या कर सकते हैं, क्या क्या कुछ होना चाहिए। किसी और का क्वेश्चन हो तो प्लीज कमेंट क्वेश्चन, एनीबॉडी एल्स?
Actually, मेरा disconnect हो गया था, but I saw previously that Farah had a few questions. Uzma, can you, if you have those, can you just read them so that Rajni can respond to them?
Okay. Meanwhile, Aloka ji, you wanted to say
फरा
something?
के सवाल पूछो पहले।
मैं फरा के मुझे ढूंढने पड़ेंगे, 1 मिनट मैं निकालती हूँ।
तब तक आलोका दीदी आप पूछिए।
हाँ, मेरा concern है, because I for almost 20 years was in a community, in a job that was called Readiness Center, a teacher, where I was interacting with the community in a way that I got to know a lot of families and the dynamics in the families, and then the way my marriage had also gone, you know, that gave me a lot of experience. I would, based on my own life experience and the experience of many families, many women trusted me and trusted me to talk to their husbands and their in-laws, and I could talk to them because of my very difficult situation that I was in. I would say that it's wonderful that in Canada that we have achieved incredible laws. But when South Asian people are living in Canada, and so that's a very complex situation. Law to hai na, पर our cultural values are about keeping the family together no matter what, and our cultural value says हाँ कोशिश करो घर को बना के रखो. And agar I would talk from my own personal experience and from the experience of many women, where there is actually abuse in a relationship, it is extremely difficult to do things like separate account, to yeah, the person who is abusing is very sensitive to this, and that has major impact on your own health and the children's health. तो मुझको तो ऐसा लगता है इतनी कम्युनिटी में देख के कि जैसे अगर किसी को ABC लिखनी नहीं सिखाई जाएगी तो उसको फिर नहीं आएगी, you know, जब बच्चे को ABC नहीं सिखाई जाएगी लिखनी तो उसको नहीं आएगी. जैसे बच्चे को अगर 2+2 1 2 3 कैसे लिखना है, 2+2 4 होता है, ये these are skills. I really feel that we as a community have to be saying no to abuse and consistently work towards creating safe environments for women, so that if they are being abused, whether it's financially or socially or economically, or you know kitni tarah ki abuse hoti hai which ends up in violence, then you know. तो मुझको तो लगता है कि हमको step number 1 is that abuse, we have to teach in the community that abuse, if is there, then it is, you need to step out of that relationship. And you have to find another, and I think in Canada, we are very lucky. Government has provided shelters, and then there is social workers, and there is a whole very good system. I think, yeah, abuse may, step number one has to be trying to talk it out, and then if it's not working, to step out and then do things like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Alotka ji. Question is that is where education is important. By education, I'm not talking about formal education. I'm talking about awareness. It's a lot of people are not aware of their rights. They are not aware this is what they should do. They are not aware that they are in abusive relationship in the first place. So ये education जो है ना, ये awareness community में, साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी की बात नहीं है, आई डील विथ ऑल द कम्युनिटीज। ये एक जेंडर डिस्पैरिटी का जो इशू है ना, ये सभी जगह है, सारी कम्युनिटी में है। इसमें सभी विक्टिम होते हैं, चाहे वो गोरे हो, चाहे काले हो, चाहे वो साउथ एशियन ओरिजिन से हो, चाहे एशियन ओरिजिन से हो, सबकी कहानी एक ही है। इट इज अबाउट जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन विच इज देयर, विच इज एग्जिस्टिंग, विच इज प्रेवलेंट वर्ल्ड वाइड, एंड नथिंग मोर इज more which is coming up is this pandemic. During this pandemic, so this year 2020 had been the worst in domestic violence worldwide. The graph just went up like this. And आपको ध्यान में होगा कि अप्रैल के महीने में, जैसे ही मार्च में ये शुरू हुआ, अप्रैल में along with WHO के जो कोविड नंबर्स आ रहे थे, उस समय सारे समय स्टैटिस्टिक्स आ रही थी कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस कैसे ऊपर बढ़ रहा है, because all husbands were staying at home and they were being frustrated. They had more time to abuse, and women, जो उनके comments आ रहे थे, they said it was as if we are living in a pressure cooker which has no valve. So they were under so much pressure, and they had no support because the world was dealing with this COVID-19. They were dealing with the shelter homes were not accepting people because infection का डर था. Hospitals वो जा नहीं पा रहे थे इंजरी का, क्योंकि एंट्री नहीं थी. लीगल सिस्टम बिल्कुल स्टॉप पे हो गया था, तो वो लीगल रिकोर्सेज नहीं थे. सो इट वाज, इसका बहुत बहुत फायदा उठाया गया. एंड जो क्राइसिस कॉल्स में जो है नंबर्स इतने ज्यादा बढ़ गए थे कि उसको मैनेज करना बहुत मुश्किल हुआ. तो इसमें जरूरी क्या होता है? एजुकेशन, अवेयरनेस. And it's important that people should know to be aware of their rights and how to come out of it under these circumstances as well, right? तो इन सब के साथ में एक और चीज जो है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है, वो ये होती है कि आप अपने बच्चों को क्या सिखा रहे हो. If you live in an abusive relationship and you start accepting it because you are scared about the family, about the cultural stigma, about anything else and many other things there, आपके बच्चों में वो हिम्मत नहीं आएगी जो आप चाह रहे हो. वो भी जब बड़े होंगे तो they will also grow up with the same fear and they will not be able to stand up because their mother could not stand up there, right? तो अगर आप अपने लिए नहीं तो अपने बच्चों के लिए you have to take a firm step so that they learn कि क्या जरूरी है उनके लिए. They gain that strength. Okay, if mom can do it, I can do it. I'm not going to accept this abusive relationship. Nobody can abuse me. I need to know what needs to be done.
Upwinder wants to say something, then Fawzia, then Reva. Before that, I just want to confirm that who is on the phone. Yes.
Uzma is me. Asma.
Okay.
Asma, oh, वाह. Welcome.
Sorry, आज मैं जरा तबीयत थी तो मैंने कहा, but I wanted to hear this and this is excellent. So I have a question, but I'll ask later. जब आप लोग पूछ लेंगे फिर मुझे भी सवाल पूछना है.
Yeah, so first is Upwinder ji.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Rajni. This was really kind of a reminder and a rude awakening. Get up and take charge of your lives. So I have over the number of years been in contact with so many women who have been abused because there was addiction in the house, for example, alcoholism or drug addiction, or husbands coming from dysfunctional families. Okay, and they just don't know how to handle the relationships. And like you just now said, there is abuse and there is us. I mean, one evening you are saying she is a bitch and she is useless, and next morning you are my queen, and
Yes.
touching feet and asking for forgiveness. And there is denial in the woman. She just cannot see the red flags till there is a complete breakdown, nervous breakdown, family breakdown. The thing goes public, and you are then ashamed of not letting people know. Not only people, where people have, women have made choices to go ahead with marriages of their choices. Parents say अब वहीं रहना, अपना रोना लेकर के घर नहीं आना. This is typical of our culture. So how do we go ahead to break the denial? How do we inspire them to actually look into? I agree, awareness is one way we can go ahead being helpful to others, but it doesn't stop there. There also they say awareness, okay, fine, acceptance, and then action. And what you're saying, recognize the abuse, recognize where you are standing, recognize that you are not being respected. And I feel that women who do not respect themselves, they cannot see, they just cannot see. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. People have to learn to respect themselves first. It's the first your self-respect that has to come into action. And that is why I said it's about your life first. You have to remember that what you are doing is not just sacrifice each time. It's time that you take charge of your own life. It has been rightly said, like life is like about 90% which comes to you, and about 10% what you get, and 90% how you react. So 90% if you're giving in, that 10% slowly becomes 20%, 30%, 40%, right? If the 90% first time when you give in and you say, no, stop. So that stop is going to be the borderline here. And then you take action at that time, and you can be united again. I have seen so many families where the litigation has gone on for so long, and then back again, they have reunited, they have family again, they give birth to a child again, and they come to my office with a sweet box, मिठाई का डब्बा लेके आते हैं. और वो हस्बैंड शर्म के मारे वो ऑफिस के बाहर खड़ा होता है और वाइफ लेके आती है. फिर मैं बुलाती हूँ हस्बैंड को भी कि आजा भैया, कोई बात नहीं है, एटलीस्ट आप हैप्पी फैमिली तो हो अभी. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि दैट्स द एंड ऑफ लाइफ. आई एम ऑलवेज अ प्रमोटर ऑफ लाइक फैमिली यूनाइटिंग.